Am I the a-hole for not meeting my dying father? I have absolutely no contact with my parents. I don't talk to them, I don't visit them. To be honest, I'd rather never see them again in my life. This might sound bad, but I do have my reasons. I was kicked out of my parents' house the day after my 18th birthday. My father claimed that an 18-year-old is already an adult and they should be able to live by themselves. Just a heads up, I was still in high school when that took place. I worked part-time, but I couldn't afford housing. I slept on the streets for about a few weeks until I found a shelter. Not only that, but I had too many rough days after that. The streets are no place for anyone, especially someone that young. Through the help of some NGOs, I managed to finish school, get into a technical course for programming, and get a decent job. Now, 10 years after that, I just graduated college. I saved up to actually do that. However, I can't forgive my parents. I never contacted them and they didn't contact me. That was until yesterday. Somehow my family, uncle, got my phone contact and sent me a message. My father is extremely sick, and it is likely that he might pass away in the next few days. My uncle told me that my father wanted to see me one last time and asked if I could go there. I said I would not go. I absolutely resent and bear a grudge against my father and mother. He kicked me out, and she did absolutely nothing to stop it. As you might assume, my uncle started to get heated and called me heartless, ungrateful, and an a-hole, among other things. And I'm pretty sure most of my family feels the same way about me. Honestly, I'm only asking here for my sanity's sake. I will not be meeting them, but I understand that the man is dying. And by not going, I'm denying something to a dying man, which might make me an a-hole. However, even if it does, I do not care. I'd rather be an a-hole than see those two ever again. Now for the top comments. He's an adult. He's old enough to die on his own. F your uncle and F your dad. Not the a-hole. And where was this uncle when your parents threw you out? Did he stand up for you against your parents then? Honestly, where was anyone of Opie's family? Let's be honest, they probably have no clue what happened and were told an alternate reality from the parents. Came here to say this. The parents probably lied and said he left on his own and went no contact. Opie, you're not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. The day he kicked you out is the day you were no longer his child. And just because he's dying does not mean you have to forgive him for what he did. You have every right to not visit him, and he's most likely not gonna apologize and try to justify what he did. He'd probably try to take credit. If I hadn't put you in the streets, you never would have developed the initiative and work ethic to succeed. Now change my bad pen. Now change my bad pen. He's only doing this for himself and maybe have a good/better image. I know what I did was wrong, but I'm asking for forgiveness type of thing. And if he wasn't dying, he would have never tried to reach out to OP. 100% not the a-hole, but I'm a bit of a vindictive witch at times, so I'd visit, just once, to tell your dad that you wanted to check that he's actually dying, and will never forgive him, and that you hope this haunts him until his last breath. Earth-scorched and salted. But you may need therapy if you go this route. In fact, you may need therapy regardless. Good luck, OP, and look after yourself. I like your style. Personally, I thought that there would be many nights when things were awful and OP may have retained hope his parents would regret their decision and help him by taking him out of the hellish situation he was in. So 1. I'd vacillate over the not going, maybe and maybe not, until I heard he was really sick. 2. Then agree to go and cancel a few times, to get their hopes up. 3. And when they were about to figure out, say, for sure going today at X. 4. Call from on the way there, and ask to be in speakerphone so dad and mom could hear my voice. 5. Then tell them, for many nights I had false hopes you would regret kicking me out, and be kind, find me and offer help. But you never did. I wanted you to know the feeling of that hope being ripped away before you died. I never intend to visit. 6. And maybe laugh. But maybe that's a tad much. Next story. Am I the a-hole for being honest with my parents about my childhood? I, 24 female, was poor growing up. We had to rough it throughout my childhood and teenage years. College was funded solely by scholarships and awful part-time jobs. I don't hold any resentment towards my parents over this, but it was hard at a time. I think I would still be struggling now had things been different. I met my partner, 31 male, during my sophomore year, and we've been together for just under 5 years. His family was in the exact opposite financial situation as mine. He has an established position in his father's company. He has since we met, and works remotely. Since my graduation in May, we've spent almost the entire summer with his parents, sightseeing and bouncing around to their different vacation homes. It was such a wonderful experience. I never thought I'd experience something like that, but the adjustment was easier than I expected. As we headed back home this week, we stopped by to visit my parents, 45 female and 47 male. While there, I mentioned that this summer felt like what all the summer breaks of my childhood should have been, and how excited I was for the future when my partner and I have children and can give them this treatment. My mother apparently took incredible offense to what I had said, and said they had done the best they could for me as a child. I replied that I never claimed any differently. The argument ended with us still not seeing eye to eye, and my husband and I made an early departure than we had been planning on, thanks to the tension in the house that remained. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. You can be honest about your childhood by saying you were poor. Saying my childhood should have been like this when your parents didn't choose to be poor is a huge a-hole move. It was just so easy to adjust. Someone please take the silver spoon out of Opie's mouth. You're the a-hole and ungrateful. Not everybody marries rich. Your parents loved you despite you draining their income, didn't they? I'm sure they would have had a more lavish lifestyle without having to raise you, but they did the best they could for you. Damn, imagine treating your own parents like this. I will never understand how people can be like this. The only thought in my mind is getting to a situation where I can do things from my mother who did her best with 3 children after a nasty divorce. We didn't have the picture-perfect childhood, but she did her best to provide for us, and we had it better than most people would have in our situation, and the only thought in my mind is, how am I ever going to be able to repay my mother? You're the a-hole, what your summer breaks should have been? How utterly insensitive and hurtful. Your parents didn't choose to be poor. No one does. It's shocking that you don't see how unkind what you said was. Not just insensitive, but entitled as heck. Summer break should be a time kids get a break from school, and that's about it. The vast majority of people never jet off anywhere. I know mine were more like trips to the lake to swim or maybe camping. We got on a plane for a trip maybe twice before my 18th birthday, and my family was nowhere close to poor. For someone raised with very little, Opie sounds spoiled as heck. No kidding. My family was solidly middle class, but we surely didn't have elaborate vacations while I was growing up. And that certainly doesn't mean I was deprived or we were poor. Something tells me Opie is grossly exaggerating how poor she was growing up. More likely her family was working class or lower middle class. She needs to get over her entitlement. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not paying for my daughter to start yet another degree? My wife and I have 3 daughters. We always told them we would pay for their college tuitions provided they wanted to go. Our eldest, Hazel, graduated in 2018. She started at a 4-year university and lasted there 6 months before dropping out and coming home. We had to eat a lot of fees because by that point they were non-refundable. Her reason for dropping out was that she didn't want to pursue that major anymore. We told her she could switch to undecided or general studies until she did figure it out, but she insisted on dropping out. From there, she enrolled in the local community college, which was cheaper, but as we didn't qualify for financial aid, we were paying for all of it. She stayed through till the world fell apart in 2020. She tried online schooling, but it was too hard and we respected that. Our younger 2 were struggling with virtual school. I can't imagine how hard college was. She took some time off, then in January of this year, started at another 4-year college. Keep in mind, only some of her credits transferred, but we were supportive. Last month, she came to us and said she wants to drop out yet again and go to cosmetology school. I have nothing against that, but after spending tens of thousands of dollars on these other schools, she's got to pay her own way on this one. I told her if she finishes and gets her license, I will reimburse her, but she needs to figure out how to finance it on her own. She asked how she's supposed to do that, and I told her to get a job. She got upset and said I'm going back on my word. It doesn't help that this year our middle daughter graduated, and we're paying for her to go to a 4-year college. Hazel said this isn't fair, and I said I'd do the same to her sister if she was as wishy-washy. Now, Hazel won't talk to me. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You've given her a chance and a backup. There comes a time when we all have to stand on our own 2 feet. Would Hazel qualify for an apprenticeship? Those aren't a thing around here. Cosmetology school is certainly cheaper than a 4-year school. Why not determine how much she would have cost at her 4-year school, and if she has it hit there, offer the rest as a kind of education budget? She's more than hit what a 4-year school would be. Not the a-hole. You've paid for 3 false starts. She can pay for the rest. And they're willing to compensate her if she finishes. That's a better deal than I ever got. Totally agree. She has to learn to finish what she starts. She'll just do this again if OP agrees to her demands. Not the a-hole. You did pay. Twice already. She has a pattern of not finishing what she starts. I wouldn't want to pay for a 3rd shot either. You didn't say I'll pay all schooling for all time, no matter how many different paths you take, and she shouldn't pretend that you did. You're right that if she's serious about this, she'll pay for it since she's now been given reassurance. You'll reimburse her if she finishes. You're still offering to pay, but only after she shows she's serious about it and has completed it, not before. You're being more generous than I would be at that point. You still have 2 other kids to pay for, and maybe she'll finally understand how generous you've been if she has to foot the bill for once. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for cutting my daughter's financial support off and monitoring every cent she spends? I'm so livid right now about the entire situation that I can't see straight and make a fair judgment. My daughter is heading off to college this year. I and my wife both decided years ago that if/when she went to college, we did not want her working to support herself. Well, now that time has come, and we've been working on ways to make sure she can fully focus on her education. I and my wife budgeted out a monthly allowance for her, along with her tuition payments. A big part of this is that I want to also teach her to budget out her money and figure out how to handle her own purchasing. While she was still going to live at home while she went to school, and it was made clear that though she could still eat with us and use some of our stuff, we expect her to start buying her own necessities and prepare her food. We also cut back on our grocery bill to an appropriate amount to only cover my wife, and our other child. We decided this would take effect in June, and made sure for months that she would be ready for it. We taught her how to balance a checkbook, income versus expenses, the basics of cooking, etc. To say the first month was a disaster is an understatement. Within only 11 days, she had blown through her entire monthly allowance. This was not an insignificant amount either. We gave her $1,000, and she blew through it in 11 days. She does not pay any rent, utilities, health insurance, etc. She had no clue how she blew through that much money, but I figured it out incredibly quickly. She spent $500 alone eating out, $300 at Walmart and who knows what, and the rest on gas somehow. Again, in a car she does not pay for at all. She then asked if it would be possible to increase the amount of money she was being given. I lost it. I held nothing back and told her there was no way in hell this was going to happen again. The experiment was over, and there was no way I was going to give her a single cent of unsupervised money. We spent months teaching her, and I mean literally every weekend I was teaching her how to be a responsible adult. I told her that I was the most disappointed in her I have ever been at that moment, and she knows I feel I have failed as a parent. We are not rich, never have been. $500 out of every one of my paychecks is a very, very noticeable amount. I've been monitoring her like a hawk ever since. I give her no more than $20 cash, and if she ever wants to use her card, she needs to tell me the exact amount so I can transfer it over. This has not been easy and has caused strain in our relationship. I just tell her now she can get a job if she wants, because then at least it's her own money. Now though, I'm getting backlash from extended family who have learned what's going on. My wife is in firm agreement, but now I'm second-guessing myself. Edit, the amount of money I gave her is rightfully being looked at. It was way too much, and I think I realized that probably soon after she spent it all. My budgeting, in my mind, was $300 for groceries, $200 for other essential purchases, $200 for gas, and $300 for school-related purchases/surplus money. I overshot but didn't care because I thought whatever she had left over could go into savings, and she could have a good chunk of savings just in case. What this has taught me is that I've taken this personally and allowed myself to become nihilistic towards my daughter. Her attitude set this all off, and I feel that is truly what I could not forgive about this. My parents never would have dreamed to do this with me, so when she spends $120 at a steakhouse paying for her friends, when we have not gone out to a steakhouse like that pretty much ever as a family, I felt disrespected that she dared ask for more money. I was naive to give her $1,000 like this, or to really expect that this adulting experiment would have worked out. Gonna step back and rethink what my priorities should actually be and what I need to take away from this all. I have to say, you're the a-hole. You waiting until your daughter was 18.5 years old to start teaching her any kind of basic adult life skills? No freaking wonder she's not good at it. If you wanted her to be plug-and-play functioning adult, you should have started years ago. You only have yourself to blame for this. Also, one failure and then you conclude she'll never learn? Not if she isn't given the chance to learn. Was she stupid with her money? Yes. But then she needs to feel the consequences of not being able to do anything or go anywhere because she can't afford it for the next 20 days. I'm not saying give her more money, but you basically showed her swimming videos, then dropped her at the deep end of a pool, and when she struggled, you scolded her, pulled her out, and forbade her from ever going to the pool again. Micromanaging is teaching her nothing but resentment. Exactly. She's never had a chance to actually spend money on her own. They should have started sooner and with a smaller budget. She has to learn by doing. Otherwise, she's going to have zero control over her financial habits once she's on her own. Everyone sucks here. It was first month and she did a big screw up, yes. But if she's only allowed to screw up once, you're setting her up for failure. This. Also, did they brought her to food shopping before all of this? Does she know how to cook at all? If the answer to both questions is no, no wonder she went on to grab food from takeout. She probably doesn't know how to manage stuff. And while she can't be totally excused, this is a good time to teach her how to do those stuff. Opie's response is way too extreme and will not teach the kid to be responsible with money and can in the long term prepare the kid to be financially mistreated under someone else's. Because the thought is, I am not responsible enough with money and I need to be under the supervision of someone else.
First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for taking my family to court over not getting inheritance money? So, years ago, around when I, 19 female, was, I think about 7, my great-grandmother passed away. She split inheritance money in her will from me, my mother, 39 female, my aunt, 45 female, and grandmother, 69 female. However, for me as it was written, it was stated I would only get the money at 18. I'm now 19 and somehow they gave the money to my mother. She never told me about this until I graduated high school. I asked why I didn't get mine, now that I'm of age, and she stated, well, you'll just spend the money. I understand where she came from, since people my age would spend it. But I am a little furious that I'm now in debt for college, and I could have used that money for student loans, or maybe even a new car. Or, if something happens as an example. After asking to give it to me, they each refused, despite me politely asking. So I decided to take this to court after seeing a copy saying I would get the money at 18. And now, everyone in my family is angry at me for standing up for myself. I believe if it's legally stated, then yes, you should fulfill, but I could be wrong, as I am young and I don't understand. Plus, they are my family, and I love them, but I don't feel this is fair and legal. Am I the a-hole for suing my family over inheritance money? Now for the top comments of this post. Not the a-hole. If this money was left for you to receive at age 18, you should receive the money at age 18. Your mother might be right that you will waste it, but if you do, that's your own call. You're an adult now. I don't plan to waste it. I plan to pay the leftover student debt of mine, which isn't much, around $4,000. Then save it for a rainy day if something happens. It doesn't really matter what you plan to do with the money. It's your money. The point is that your mom's argument that you will waste it isn't a good one. Because even if you waste it, that's perfectly fine. It's yours to waste, or save, or invest, or use in any way you please. She can't hold this money because she doesn't like how she thinks you'll spend it. It's not a valid reason because it's yours to spend as you please. I agree, you can withdraw everything in $1 bills and make tiny origami hats. That would be fine too. Not the a-hole. It's not your mother's money. Is it possible she spent it and won't tell you? I'm assuming she has. I've never seen this money ever in my life and was just told about this from a cousin and confronted her about it. Hopefully, she has not. Not the a-hole who managed the estate. It should have been placed in a trust, and as such, you are legally entitled to it. Yeah, I'm really surprised they gave the money to the mom to hold. That's not how wills usually work. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my mom financially because she paid for all my younger siblings' stuff, but not mine? I'm 26 female. I have 7 siblings. Ages 23 male, 21 male, 17 female, 13 female, 13 female, 9 female, 9 male. All of us, minus the twins, have different dads, and she has never had a stable boyfriend. Now, being the oldest, A lot of the mother responsibilities were passed off onto me. I babysat all of the kids until I moved out at 16, and my, now 17, sister even called me mom until she was 6. I taught my 4 youngest siblings how to walk, taught all of them to ride a bike, homeschooled my youngest sibling because she has learning disabilities. I also had all cooking and cleaning responsibilities, and was forced into a night job at age 15 to help her support the household, as well as being a full-time student and caregiver when home. When I moved out at 16, my grandmother moved in as my replacement. I never held this against my mom, even though it was her decision to have so many kids and force me into a mother role. However, I became extremely resentful of the fact that she bought my 23-year-old, 21-year-old, and 17-year-old siblings all cars. They were secondhand, yes, but she never even offered to help me pay for a car, let alone buy me one. She also paid for at least half of their college tuition. I didn't go to college because I not only could not afford it, but I also did terrible in school due to working and being exhausted from being a parent to kids that aren't mine. It really messed with my grades, meaning no scholarship. I'm doing great now. I have a fantastic job, my own house, and have bought my car outright. I'm proud of myself, but now that my home and car have proven to my mom that I have money, I never discuss my money with her. She has started asking for handouts, loans that I know she will never pay back basically, as she has never paid me back before. Last night, she asked for $200. Didn't say why. I told her no, and when she asked why, I said, maybe you should ask your other kids. You know, the ones that you bought cars for and put through college, versus asking the one kid who didn't get jackass beside a mothering role. She flipped out and said that she never did that, and that I was basically being a drama queen and needed to grow up. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mom's unhappiness that you've figured out she sees you as a family caretaker and have rejected the role is not your problem. If she asks for money again, tell her to grow up and take responsibility for her own finances. And seriously, think about how much contact you want to have with her going forward. I have very limited contact with her now, which is partly why I said no as well. She never calls me and barely answers when I reach out to her either. What your mom did is called parentification and is a form of abuse. She forced you into the role of parent. Not the a-hole. She already got her money's worth out of you when she took away your childhood. I would have said sure, and then give her an envelope of doll hairs. Not the a-hole. Huh, grow up? You're more adult than she is. You grew up way too fast and had to be a mother so young to your siblings. Your mom is upset because she wants to use you as an interest-free ATM and still sees you as a family caretaker. They are not your responsibility. Be happy, live your life the way you want to, and let your siblings step up for once. This is what I wanted to say. The absolute nerve of this woman to tell you to grow up. Tell her to lose your number until she gets her stuff together and takes responsibility for her life choices. In no way are you an a-hole here, not the a-hole times 100. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not sharing my birthday money with my step-siblings? My parents split when I was 9, now 18 male, and my sister was 7, now 16 female. My mom got remarried 4 years ago, and my dad has been dating his girlfriend for 3 years. Right now, I live with my mom and stepdad along with his 3, 17 female, 16 male, and 14 male kids and my sister. My step-siblings lost their mom when they were young, so they live full-time with my mom and stepdad. I get along with my step-siblings, but we aren't really close. While my mom and stepdad both have good jobs, they make about €110,000 combined. We've always been somewhat poor, since we live in an expensive area and are a family of 7. But my grandmother from my dad's side is filthy rich. This has caused some issues and jealousy in the past, since she would buy my sister and me expensive gifts, designer clothes, a new phone/laptop, AirPods, etc. that my mom and stepdad couldn't afford. The issue. 3 weeks ago, I celebrated my 18th birthday. It was a small party, thanks to the virus, with some family and close friends, but we still had a blast. My grandma couldn't make it, thanks again to the virus, but sent me a video message we watched on our TV. The message consisted of a sweet little speech, and her telling me she decided to give me €25,000 for my birthday. I was stunned, thought I was hallucinating, and didn't know what to say for nearly 2 minutes. Then I immediately called my grandma to thank her. My grandma wanted to know what I was going to do with the money, and I told her I was planning on traveling the world. if COVID allows it, after high school is done. When I was done talking to my grandma, I could see that my step-siblings were very annoyed, and they left the party a few minutes later. They have been acting cold towards my sister and me ever since. A few days after my birthday, my mom and stepdad sat me down and asked me to share the money with my step-siblings. They were saying I wouldn't need $25,000 to travel the world, and that it was unfair towards my step-siblings. They also mentioned all the expensive gifts my sister and I got over the years. I told them I would think about it. Now, I know that I'm extremely privileged, and that it's unfair towards my step-siblings, but I don't want to share the money. I want to go all out on this trip and use what's left to travel during college. Am I the a-hole? Now let's read the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your grandma didn't give it to them. She gave it to you. For your birthday. They will get over it. I want to piggyback and for Opie to make sure no one can get in his account and steal the money, since sometimes things like these can escalate. Edit. Shouldn't have assumed he had a bank account. If he doesn't, he should make one, or let the grandparents have the money and give it there until he leaves, unless he needs it now. Info. Where do you store your money? I have my own bank account. Although my parents originally opened it for me as something called a child savings account, it became my account when I turned 18, so I'm not exactly sure if they still have access to it. Not the a-hole. They were saying I wouldn't need $25,000 to travel the world and that it was unfair towards my step-siblings. I guess now is a good time for them to learn the lesson that life isn't fair. It's not your dad's mom's responsibility to take care of your mom and stepdad's kids or to treat them as equal to you. Because they're not. They are not her grandchildren. Their mom died when they were little. I think they're already acutely aware that the world isn't fair. Not the a-hole. It was a gift for you, and it's rude of your mother to demand you to share it. You can choose to share, as it's yours, but you should feel no guilt for not sharing. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for completely remodeling my deceased father's home and refusing to share my inheritance with my step-siblings? I inherited my father's house after he and his wife died in a car crash 2 years ago. After about a year in the house, I decided it was time to begin treating it like it were mine and felt ready to start thinking about renovations and furniture changes. Everything was done earlier this year, and the house is completely different than what it was before, save for a single chair I decided to keep. Even the exterior colors and landscaping are totally different. My stepsisters, 28, 24, 19, came over yesterday for the first time since it's been renovated. Immediately after looking around, they started freaking out about how I ruined our parents' house and yelled and cried about how it looked like they had never even lived there. Then they complained about my dad not leaving them as much as me, how they got ripped off in the inheritance just because they were stepchildren, and how unfair it was, and how I should share my inheritance with them. I told them to get the F out of my house. Their mother was only married to my dad for a couple years before they died, and we were all grown, except the youngest who was 16. It's not like he was with this woman for 20 years and raised these children. My dad left me the house and about $2 million after taxes and gave them each $200,000. Personally, I think that's rather generous to leave the adult children of a woman you've only been with for a few years. Also, this woman on her own had nothing, and they would have been lucky to get enough money from her death to cover the funeral had she not been with my dad. I feel like I didn't do anything wrong, but a few family members are telling me I should have waited a few years before renovating, and I should have given them all some more of the inheritance. What do you guys think? Now let's read the top judgment for this post. Not the a-hole. Never invite them to your home ever again. Ever. Added to add, you should never give up your inheritance to solve the witching of other people who didn't get an inheritance. The dead speak by their last will and testament. Don't mess with the dead. I mean, this is true, but also they did get an inheritance, and pretty generous one at that. A man who had only been in their lives for a few years did a really great thing for them and left them each a couple $100,000. Any decent person would be truly appreciative of that, and not trying to pressure his daughter into giving up her inheritance to their greedy selves. Not the a-hole. They got $200,000 each, and they're complaining for more? Not to sound bratty, but they were lucky to get anything. You can do whatever you want with your house. And it is your house now. It's not theirs. If he wanted it to be theirs, he would have left it to all of you. Not the a-hole. It was your inheritance, and as you stated, they were nearly all adults when your parents got married. They are not entitled to anything your dad left, and he was generous in his gifts to them. Maybe a heads up that you were remodeling. so they could have taken any furniture or items that were your parents that you were getting rid of. But still, you don't owe them anything. Not the a-hole. It was your father's wish to allocate his assets as he did. They have no rights to anything else. And the house is yours to do as you please. I doubt your father would be upset you remodeled.
Am I the a-hole for telling my surrogate to stop acting like she was my husband's wife? My husband and I have been together for 5 years. We wanted kids, but because of my health problems, this wasn't possible. So we decided to go with surrogacy, and my friend nominated her sister, Brittany, 29. I agreed right away because I know Brittany and the family. We've set everything up, discussed payment, short and long-term plans, counseling, and doctor appointments. Then we explored IVF and chose a private clinic to get it done. It started after Brittany took a pregnancy test. She only told my husband, though she had both error numbers. She only sent my husband a picture of the test while he was at work and sent me nothing when I gave her my personal contact information, but it was okay. Things got complicated when Brittany started having access to our credit cards for her own wants and claimed they were the baby's needs. She excluded me from doctor visits and scans and had only my husband go with her. Her excuse was that my husband drives and has time, since I work and unavailable most of the time. I felt isolated from this experience, but said nothing knowing she's bearing a lot of burden, so I had patience. My husband had no idea what was going on and if this was normal, as this was new to us, so we didn't know. She's 7 months in, and last week she had us visit to discuss things that I thought we'd previously agreed on, but she said she changed her mind about. And her mom was there too. I heard Brittany out and was shocked when she gave a list of how things should be from now on, since she said there was a lot of confusion in the past because of me stressing her out by complaining. She requested she got saying things like baby name after I deleted the list of names she sent to my husband. She wanted more access to my husband's credit card / free time to get stuff done at her place. Also, more time with the baby than agreed on. Then I wrapped up by saying only my husband should be with her in the delivery room and use the hospital as excuse. I got up and firmly stated I don't agree on her new terms, and that she had to stop acting like she was my husband's wife and this was their baby. My husband didn't speak till she started crying. He asked me to sit down, but I said I had boundaries, reminded her what her role was and how she overstepped. Her mom went off and said her daughter was being mistreated when she put herself mentally and physically through the most selfless act for us, to make us a family. She gave up a part of her life in those months to give us what we want, and I was acting selfish and ungrateful. She had us leave, then told my friend, and it got more complicated. I was told to apologize for what I said. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Yes, we agreed on paying for the surrogacy like I stated above. So no favors or anything. No, we did not have a legal contract because my friend said there was no need for us to do that, and basically talked us out since we are considered family, but we had an agreement including paying her. Question about whether Brittany had kids of her own. She was a single mom of a 4-year-old who passed away from an accident. She had him at a young age, but she always seemed in good mental and physical health. Now for the top comments. This may be above Reddit's pay grade. Okay, so there's no legal contract. Is there at least a written contract? A voice recording of the agreement? Text? Emails? Anything at all? Lawyer up immediately, Opie. I feel for you. Edit. A lot of people have said, and I agree that something really fishy is going on here. Has Opie answered whose egg this is? How the insemination was done? Why her husband is so okay with Opie being cut out? This could be anything from Brittany seeing an opportunity for a free baby and child support, to Opie's husband and Brittany being on some kind of gross, twisted scheme. There is so little information here that I have just so many questions. I can only sum up this post with oof. I would like to add another oof. Let's add a third oof. Surrogate is a mother to a baby who sadly passed away, so no live babies at the moment. Who in their right mind thought a mother who lost her only baby was a good candidate for surrogacy? Surrogates go through extensive psychological evaluation, and I have serious doubts she would pass. Opie and husband majorly dropped the ball here. Sounds like they let this friend steamroll them into selecting her sister without any pushback at all. No one with Opie's best interest at heart would have pressured her into forgoing a lawyer. Fred is looking out for her sister, and only her sister. And I kinda suspect they're deliberately scamming this couple. Oh, absolutely. It looks to me that this friend saw how her sister was depressed after losing her baby, And there was probably no father in the picture to try again, or money to go through IVF on her own, so they saw this as their chance to have a baby. This is why surrogacy is so heavily regulated. Was there a contract? If not, yikes. Get a lawyer ASAP. Surrogates have no business being involved in naming the baby or dictating time spent with the child. Red flags abound. You're not an a-hole, but you may have put yourself in a situation where an unstable person could now have leverage to essentially be a third parent to your child. Or a single parent. She doesn't want you at the delivery, so she can just claim the baby for herself. Edited to add, after seeing your edits about the surrogates having lost a 4-year-old, she is 100% planning to keep the baby. Whether she also tries to take your husband and just claim child support is up in the air. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter to leave my husband alone? I have 3 children, 10 female, 22 male, and 24 female. The older 2 are from my first marriage. Their father died when they were 5 and 7, and I married their stepfather 4 years later. From the very beginning, my daughter had a difficult time adjusting. She never saw my husband as a father figure. Unlike my son, it took to him very quickly. We tried everything, including therapy, but it didn't do much. She was rude with him all the way through her teenage years, refused to be parented by him, cussed him out, told him he wasn't her father and that she wanted nothing to do with him, etc. My husband, if I might say so, was incredibly patient. He never pushed too hard, respected her boundaries, and always listened to me when I told him to back off. But he did catch a lot of verbal mistreatment, and I sometimes feel guilty not being stricter with her. She moved out at 18 for college, and we paid for her education. Things have become civil since then, but still cold. Now recently, my daughter has been trying to fix things with her stepfather. She wants to join him and her brother for their monthly fishing trips, but my husband is reluctant. He's not interested in fixing things. He believes his duty is done now that she's an adult, and that he's going to live his life in peace now. My son doesn't care either way. This breaks my heart as I want us to be a proper family. My daughter has been repeatedly asking me to intercede on her behalf, and I have, but it seems like it's only making things more tense. So I told her that maybe it is best to leave him alone. Maybe time will make things better. Or maybe it won't, and that she will have to accept that possibility as well. She says I'm a major a-hole for being so fatalistic. Am I the a-hole? No a-holes here. Sometimes timing sucks and just can't be helped. You are ready to move on with a new husband. That's okay. Your daughter wasn't ready for a new father or a stepfather. That's okay. Your husband did his best. That's good. Your daughter is grown up and is ready to be more mature about things. That's good. Your husband has been hurt in the past and is reluctant to take more emotional risks. That's okay. While time doesn't heal all wounds, time may help here. One can't see the future, but one can have hope. I completely agree. My only suggestion to OP would be rather than her daughter interjecting on an already established bonding activity between son and stepfather, that they try something independent from these trips. Start small, like a movie or craft beer/wine, or museums. Anything that they can both discuss and bond over. A fishing trip is too long, and too much after so little involvement. Any relationship that they develop will need to be on their own terms, and centered on things they have in common. Short activities with lots of neutral things to discuss, example, a museum where you can talk about what you are seeing, are probably the easiest first steps, but not right away. He didn't force her to accept him back then. She can't force him now. This will take time and effort. It's not as easy or simple as her suddenly joining the fishing trips and pretending everything's cool. Not a hall for supporting your husband's boundaries and emotional health. Sure, except one was a child, processing serious grief. That's true. Still doesn't mean they can flip a switch and suddenly have a great relationship now. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to kick my son out? My husband and I have 6 kids. Elizabeth 20, Thomas 18, Addie 10, Olivia 8, Michael 7, and Grayson 3. My husband and I made a rule for our kids that once they turn 18/graduate high school, they have 3 options. 1, go to college and live rent-free. 2, get a job and pay rent. 3, move out. With either option, if you live at home, you'll be expected to do chores, which does occasionally include babysitting or driving the younger kids somewhere. We give them until the start of the next school year to figure it out. Elizabeth has never had a problem with this. She's about to start her 4th year of college, and when she's not in school, she babysits twice a week to help us out. She's great with her siblings and generally has a good attitude. Thomas is a completely different story though. He told us he wants to take a year off before college to relax and figure out what he wants to do. We said okay, and reminded him that if he still wants to live here, he needs to get a job and pay rent. We're not asking for anything crazy. A part-time job at Burger King is fine with us, as long as he's able to contribute. He got a part-time job at a deli making approximately $1,000 to $1,500 a month, and we charge him $300 a month. The problem is he's been refusing to do any chores since he pays rent. He's also rude to me and my younger kids, especially Addie. Addie has anxiety, SPD and dyspraxia, and is very clumsy. If she drops or spills anything near him, he screams at her and curses her out. If I ask him to watch a couple of the kids so I can take 1 or 2 to an appointment, he yells at me for making him parent my kids, and tells me I need to step up instead of relying on him and their nanny. Honestly, I'm getting tired of his attitude. And Addie is scared to eat or drink in the same room as him because she's scared of getting yelled at. I talked to my husband about kicking him out, and he agrees that Thomas needs to help out around the house and be nicer to me and the kids. But he thinks kicking him out is too harsh since we live in an area with a high cost of living, and he doesn't make enough to support himself. Am I the a-hole for wanting to kick him out? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. My siblings and I grew up under these same rules. What my mom did to my brother was build him the costs he would actually be paying in the real world if he was living the same setup with roommates instead of family, including laundry and maid services, electricity, water, phone service, meal service, etc. She walked him through the bill and explained why each portion was owed, and then told him he could reduce his bill by instead of paying mom to do his laundry or cleaning or cooking, he could do it himself and save those costs. You get the idea. My brother decided the rent he was being charged and the chores he was asked to do was way better than paying the higher costs without the chores. That's a good idea. This kid needs a real wake-up call about how much things actually cost. The absolute horror that some posters have about, gasp, babysitting is laughable. How dare you ask him to babysit when he pays you $300 whole for rent? He wanted his path. He chose to work instead of going to school. He wanted to do that while remaining in his parents' house. He pays a measly $300 for a room, common areas, utilities, groceries, etc. He is refusing to help out around the house and is being horrible to his sister, who is a child. I think kicking out right away is overly harsh. I think Opie needs to have a very serious conversation with him to reiterate his options. Staying at home means helping out and being respectful / not horrible. He will never find somewhere to live for $300. So this is his final warning to straighten up. Opie has a child to protect. Addie's only 10 and deserves to feel safe. I have very little sympathy for an 18-year-old who is tormenting a special needs 10-year-old. Not an a-hole. Not an a-hole. If your husband agrees he needs to be nicer and help out, then what is your husband willing to do if your son continues to do neither? He wants to talk to him and hope he listens. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my brother I'm not taking on extra hardship just because I love him? My brother and I are only 11 months apart in age. He's older, so we grew up incredibly close. And when he and his late wife had kids together and I was already home with mine, he offered to help by taking them Thursdays and Fridays so they could save some money in childcare. This continued for years, and their kids are now 10, 8, and 7. My late sister-in-law died 2 years ago, and it was very rough on the kids. They were very close to their mom, and she adored them. My brother adored her too. They went to therapy for 6 months, and then 9 months after the death of his late wife, he met his current wife. It seems he felt ready to date again, and from there they moved fast. They were married October last year, and they moved in together. It was him and the 3 kids plus her and her 2 kids. I think he thought the kids would appreciate having a mom figure again, and having 2 more siblings. And he thought her kids would like having a bigger family because it was just them and their mom. But her kids have issues with each other, and they don't like my brother's kids, while my brother's kids are hurt and feel like their dad betrayed their mom, and like my brother's wife is trying to replace her. The household descended into chaos and the kids fight. It was so bad, the family therapist they started to see refused to see them all together, and 2 further ones said they would not be able to do therapy as a group for a while if they switched to them. The fighting has made it hard to keep a babysitter and made childcare much more difficult for them. His stepkids don't want to be alone with him, and his kids don't want to be alone with their stepmom. So he asked me to go back to the old arrangement of having the kids after school. I told him I didn't feel like it would work for me, that I love him and will try to help him find someone, but I can't. He told me the 3 kids miss me and their cousins. I said I hadn't made the decision lightly, but after my parents' experiences with taking care of all 5 kids together and seeing how they are with each other, I feel like I wouldn't be capable of coping. He tried to use our bond to get through to me and I told him no. Then he got mad and accused me of not loving him. I told him I was not taking on the extra hardship because I love him, that he knows that's what he's asking, and that I will be here for him in ways I can be, but I cannot take on more than I can realistically handle. He said calling the kids a hardship made me an a-hole, and so did rejecting the chance to spend time with all my nieces and nephews. Am I the a-hole? NTA, NTA, NTA. Your beloved brother has a self-created mess on his hands, and he's looking to you to restore some semblance of normalcy. Except that it isn't your job. Info. Did he ask the kids what they thought about him getting married again, or what they felt about her kids? He did, but he said he didn't want them to make the rules, and he told them if they had any actual issues with any of them to let him know, but otherwise he was doing what he felt was right. And they had no specific issues, so that was it. A professional therapist can't handle all of them together, and you're supposed to be willing to take them all? Not at a-hole. If you feel so inclined, you could offer to take his 3 kids. But if you don't want to do that, you are still not at a-hole. That is not something I will offer because he already rejected it when my parents made a suggestion. Not at a-hole. 5 well-behaved kids would be a hardship. 5 kids fighting a blended family dynamic is beyond what should be asked of you. Why can't the kids go to an after-school program where they will have some distance from each other? I don't know why. The parents are probably hoping that if they force them together enough they will become friends. It won't work, and will cause more resentment and anger.
Am I the a-hole for taunting my ex's widow after she lost her court case for visitation with my son? The father of my son, 4, left me for someone else when I, 25 female, was 6 months pregnant. Ex and this woman Mavis married when my son was roughly 3 weeks old. They demanded she come to his visits with our son, and I refused. My reason? They said he needed to get to know his mom as well as his dad, and she was definitely his mom now. They were married and everything, and yeah, that's how they argued it. I never stopped him from seeing our son, but I didn't allow her anywhere near my home, and our son was 10 months old before my ex could take him out for visitation. Then I could do nothing about her being there, but at least she wasn't calling herself my son's mom in my home. She did join my ex every time he dropped our son off with me, and she would try to start a fight because I wouldn't let her hold him to say goodbye once my ex handed our son to me. She'd get mad when I refused to let her spend time alone with our son too. Ex was awarded every other weekend visitation when our son was 18 months old. He lost that visitation when our son was 2 because his wife tried to take our son out of daycare without permission and the cops had to be called. He went back to visits at my house, and she was not allowed near my house or my son. That softened after a few more months. She had to issue an apology and take some classes, and then every other weekend restarted. Then my ex died last year. My son was with me at the time, so there was no fight to get him back, or her trying to run with him or anything, and I think she would have tried to keep my son if my ex had died during his visitation weekends. Mavis then tried to sue me for shared custody as his other parent. That case was thrown out because she was not a legal parent and had no parental rights to my son. Instead, she tried to sue for visitation, and unfortunately that went to court. It took a few months, and we had 2 dates before the judge in order to get a ruling. She was denied visitation. It was decided she had not played a big enough role in my son's life, and she wasn't his family anymore. I was relieved. Mavis was screaming about appeals as we left court. She tried to confront me a week after court, and I was feeling so done with her nonsense that I taunted her and told her she would never be in my son's life again and to go F herself because she's all alone now, and with the way she acts, it didn't surprise me. She started screaming after me, but I kept going. It was only afterward I wondered if it was unfair, because she did lose my ex, and she might have felt some genuine care for my son. I don't know. I think she's just unhinged. But maybe I was still an a-hole. Am I?
Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If she keeps contacting you, keep track of everything for a paper trail, as you may need to get a restraining order against her. Also, double and triple check that daycare and/or school knows she is not allowed to take him. They probably already know this, but it sounds like she may try regardless. Hopefully your little man is doing all right after losing his father. Yeah, what's the matter with her? How can she even claim any rights? So strange. Also, I think she needs therapy. There's clearly something wrong with her. Stand your ground, queen. Gotta wonder if she got involved with a man whose partner was pregnant because she can't have her own kids. A little twist on the hand that rocks the cradle, maybe? Don't engage any further. If she approaches you or your kid, you need to file restraining orders and keep them active at all times and forever. She's got problems. She used to brag about giving him siblings, so I'm not sure if she's infertile. But she was really looking to push me out and take over. You thinking she may have run with your son if ex-husband died while she had custody tells the whole story. Not the a-hole. I am convinced she would have. She knew she hadn't a leg to stand on and I'd take him, so she would have kidnapped him. As it is, I'm relieved she never did it when ex was alive. Place your social media to private. Ask friends and family not to post anything about you or your son. Already done. I had it covered before ex died. Next story. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with girlfriend because she refused to go after my former roommate for child support? I, 24 male, have been dating my ex-girlfriend, 23 female, for 3 years now. When we first started dating, she told me that she had previously dated my roommate, 29 male. Okay, all that is in the past. After 2 years together, she introduced me to her child. Now we were at the 3-year mark and we were discussing moving in together. After talking about moving in together, she finally told me that my former roommate is the father of her child. I was not bothered by that until I realized that he has never once talked about his child or anything about child support. I know that he works as a gas station cashier, so I began to wonder how he could afford rent and groceries on top of child support. I asked my ex-girlfriend if he was helping with their child, and she said, no, I chose to raise my child on my own. Which I thought was stupid because she doesn't earn much herself as a caregiver for obese individuals. I brought up going after him for child support since that's the bare minimum. She got angry and told me to mind my own business. I figured since we were discussing moving in together, then her child would become my business. I thought I was looking out for their welfare, but I guess not. She said I was being an a-hole and that I have no say when it comes to her child. I told her she should be doing better for her child. I then broke up with her because why put time into a relationship with someone who has a child if I'm not allowed to look out for that child's welfare? I also moved in with my parents until I can find a place to rent myself or a new roommate. Am I the a-hole for ending the relationship? Not the a-hole. I say this because if they were discussing moving in together, then everything should be discussed. Maybe he just feels as though the father should be supporting his child. And as far as child support and shared custody, I'm not sure why someone thinks they go hand in hand. There are quite a few people that I know who receive child support, and custody is not involved. I was confused by those comments actually. I looked up the laws for my state before even bringing up the child support. They are handled in the same court, but are legally two separate issues. You can break up for whatever reason you want, but honestly, I would say that the child support is none of your business, as long as she's not asking you for money for her expenses or bills or the child. Now, if she expected you to take care of most of the bills and help out with the child, then yeah, it was your business. So not the a-hole. You're helping pay for her child that's not even yours before you've ever moved in together, so she's definitely going to expect it after. You are contributing to her finances, so at that point it is your business. That is one of the issues that I had. She was comfortable enough with hitting me up for the things that cost money when it came to her child. I didn't mind since I didn't hand her cash or my debit card. I purchased the things her child needed myself. She was comfortable with me taking her child shopping for clothes. I paid for her child to go on class field trips. I grew up with a single mom, and I had a village help raise me. Neighbors donated clothes and some cooked me dinner most nights. So I was never bothered because I was that child feeling left out when it came to class trips. Her child deserved to be like their peers. Enrichment activities like that are important for child development too. Next story. Am I the a-hole for getting my mom's things out of the house so dad can't give any to my half-sisters? My mom died when I, 17 female, was 5. Before she died, she sold a lot of her things that held very little meaning, and she wrote letters to me and dad saying what she wanted to happen to the rest. In the letter to me, which I got when I was 13, she said she was leaving me her jewelry and all her childhood mementos and keepsakes. She had a small, stuffy collection, some really old books that were handed down, and some scrapbooks she made over the years. Even before I knew what was supposed to be mine, I asked for a lot of the stuff after she died. But Dad said I was too young and that I would get that stuff when I was older and more responsible. But even though he thought I was responsible enough to read the letter, he still said I wasn't responsible enough to have Mom's things. When I was 7, my dad remarried and had the first of my 2 half-sisters with his wife. I was 9 when my second half-sister was born. My dad used to talk about how much Mom would have loved them and how he wished I'd share something of Mom's with each of them when we were older to show how much I love them. I told him they weren't Mom's kids, so I'd never do that. And he told me they might not be Mom's, but they were my baby sisters, and it would be a sweet and meaningful connection between them. My dad's marriage has been falling apart for the last 3 years. Right now, they're separated but still living together, and they fight every day. A few weeks ago, Dad announced out of the blue that he was going to share a piece of Mom's jewelry with each of my half-sisters. He said there was a piece each that he thought would be perfect for them. At this point, he still wasn't willing to let me have Mom's things, and he pointed out to me when we argued about it that Mom only wrote it down in letters. She didn't put those wishes in her will. I told him it was because she trusted him, and clearly she was wrong because he wanted to give her things to someone else's daughters. And I said this because of the times he wanted me to give something to them. He said she would have loved my half-sisters because they were his, and she would have wanted him to be happy. I told him I would have always come before any other kids because I was her only, and I told him it was creepy and weird and gross that he wanted kids he had with someone else, who never met Mom and never would, and who were not a part of Mom's family, to have her jewelry or sentimental items. After he made the announcement about giving them something, I went searching when no one else was home and I found all the stuff. He kept it so well hidden that I almost didn't find it in time. But when I did, I hid it in my room overnight. And early the next morning, while nobody else was up, I brought it all to my maternal grandparents and asked them to keep the stuff safe from Dad. They were really disgusted with him when I told them what was happening. It took another 3 weeks for Dad to actually go look for Mom's things to give to my half-sisters. And when he couldn't find it, he confronted me and we got into a fight. He accused me of stealing them, and I asked him why he didn't call the cops then. And he said they'd dismiss it as a petty thing, but I was a thief and I was punishing my half-sisters through him. He said they were so excited to get the jewelry he mentioned, and I said because they wanted pretty things. He could go out and buy them their own jewelry. We fought for like an hour or maybe even 2, and he kept calling me a thief and demanded I bring the stuff back, but I stood my ground and said no every single time. He tried to make me feel bad for not wanting my half-sisters to have the jewelry he promised. He said Mom would have wanted me to share, and I told him she wouldn't. I said she wouldn't have left it all to me if she had. Then he said something about wanting to share the love I had for Mom with my half-sisters, and I told him I would never want to, and I said it was because of him. He tells me to bring Mom's things back at least twice a week, and I say no, and I told him they will never get the jewelry. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Good for you. Your dad is nuts. He is. But I think this latest announcement was supposed to be a dig at his wife to get under her skin. And if that was all, it'd be something I could ignore. But he wanted me to do this and bugged me for years. So I know he would seriously give the girls those pieces of jewelry and I would hate him for it. Go move in with your grandparents. The letter is proof enough that your mother intended to give you those things. Your half-sisters never even met your mother. Not the a-hole. It's all yours to give or keep as you see fit. I'm not sure if that holds up legally, but as far as Dad is concerned, it should be all he needs, as well as the fact I'm Mom's only child. Legit her only kid in this world, and he wants to give another woman's children pieces of mom. It's so weird. I would keep that letter safe too. Maybe take that to your grandparents as well. It definitely shows intent. It was written by her and signed by her, not the a-hole. The letter is in one of the boxes at my grandparents' house. I made sure to keep it safe because it's the only letter I have from Mom. Last story. Am I the a-hole for blaming my former caseworker for messing me up by showing me proof nobody in my family wanted me when I was only 14? I, 18 female, went into foster care when I was 4 because my mom died and nobody knew who my biological father was. I didn't find a stable home and left foster care a few months ago, but I left pretty damn messed up. One reason was never having stability, and I was abused frequently by different families I was placed with. I never felt like I had a home, and I don't even strongly remember being with my mom. There's also stuff I never got therapy for that I should have, the kinds of abuse I went through. When I was 14, my caseworker told me I needed to wise up and stop looking for a family and start planning for my future. She showed me the file with the info on when I was placed in a foster care, and that's when I learned I had 2 half-siblings who were in their 20s when I was placed, and I had grandparents and an aunt as well, all maternal. All of them were asked about taking me or keeping in touch, and none of them did. The caseworker was like, "This is your reality. Deal with it and stop looking to find a family." She did it because I asked her why they never found a good family for me to live with, and why they all sucked in different ways. Her first reply was about my first 2 foster families being great, but I was removed both times. That was another thing that messed me up because it was so hard to get removed from the awful ones. I didn't do so well after and I almost didn't graduate. My head was just everywhere but school, and then I felt abandoned and like I was out on my own. I got my file and found the names of family and searched for them on social media and reached out to my bio aunt and half-sister. I didn't get a reply from either and was blocked by my half-sister, I'm pretty sure, so yeah. I struggled and then I got mad at my former caseworker because she left me to deal with that with 0 help, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But when I told her this, she was like, "You can't blame me. You were supposed to wise up, not fall apart, and you needed to stop wanting things you couldn't have." It's made me feel more messed up, and I don't know. Am I the a-hole? I don't even care about the downvotes. These comments are crazy. That was absolutely cruel and unnecessary to tell you. She let you down, and instead of hearing you and letting you know it's not your fault you got a crappy hand, she tried to make you feel like it was your fault. I am so sorry. I don't even have words for how lonely it must have felt all these years. But you are capable of finding a family still. I believe there's a tribe of people out there for you, and I really hope you find it soon. Nothing that has happened to you was your fault. Thanks. I still don't know how she decided that was needed in response to, why can't they find a good foster family for me? Never did I ask about bio family. I always assumed I had none. I don't have any hope that anyone could love me. It feels like I was never meant to belong anywhere. What she told me just made me feel like I was destined to be alone. See if you can report this damn social worker. She should not be in this job. She was also an abuser. You might be able to get into therapy now. I'm so sorry the system failed you so badly. Maybe your bio aunt could tell you who your father is? She might respond to that question. She didn't reply to me asking if we could talk, so I don't think she'll reply to me asking who my bio father is. I don't expect to hear anything back from any bio relative I now know about.